Today is September 7th, 1978, and we're going to get a little oral history from Margie Langan, and she's going to start out with the earliest memories that she can recall.
My earliest memory is when we lived in 122nd Street in Harlem. My girlfriend's mother was the super of the building, a three or four story building with gas lights in the hall. And her job was to light the gas lights. So instead of being smart and going up to the top, we used to start lighting them from the bottom. And then we'd get to the fourth floor, we'd be scared to go up the next floor, and we'd stand there with the wicker and pray that nothing would come out at us. And another memory I have is we lived opposite a stable. And we used to watch the horses going in and out. And the kids all used to collect oats that fell when they were delivering. And we used to have oat wars. You'd save all your oats in a bag, and then they'd throw them at one another. And then the kids from all the neighborhoods in the summer, when it was light after dinner, we were allowed to go out because all the kids gathered in front of our house because the light was there. And they'd play all the games in the street. And another thing about the horses, not very pleasant, when one would die, they used to drag them out in the street, and the kids would come for miles to see the dead horse. And the legs would be stiff and up. We never worried about germs. We didn't know about germs. And then the stores, nothing was ever in bags. Everything was in boxes. So while you were waiting to get waited on, we used to play with the coffee beans and the rice, and you had your hands and everything. And as a special treat, he'd let you cut the pound of butter. You could go to the tub, and he'd give you the big knife, and we'd cut the butter. And then if you were real good, they'd give you the milk cans. The milk was in a big container, and you had a dipper. And it was 5 cents a quart. And you'd bring your dipper after your mother scoured and boiled it to the store. And if you were good, he'd let you dip it. And then on the way home, we used to swing them. And if you swung it hard, it wouldn't come out. But if you didn't, you got a bag of milk. Sanitation was not very good. Then when I was about 6 or 7, everybody played Ring-a-Levio. The kids came from all over. And in Tretler's house was the first house that had steam heat. We had the old coal stove. They used to have in the basement the boiler with asbestos. And I looked down there one time, and somebody told me it was an asbestos man, a sugar man. And I was always terrified to go down to the sugar man. And then we had Jerry, the line man. He used to come around all the time, and he used to hook the lines up from your apartment. And my mother'd send me down to the basement through the cellar, be scared to death, to pick up clothespins that fell. You never bought clothespins. Your mother'd send you to the yard to get your clothespins. And then Jerry with the line, I took it on myself to climb up to the first floor on the pole, and then I couldn't get down. I was screaming up there, and I don't know, somebody came and took me down.
Oh, Margie, what were the cross streets at 122nd?
Lexington Avenue and 3rd Avenue, and the elevator went by there. Subway elevator, 3rd Avenue L.
And we used to go to
yeah, and then we went to what was the name? Bloomstein's in 125th Street. And they had a poor fellow used to stand outside, and he'd mind the carriage for you while you went in. He'd give you a check for the carriage. The baby, you left your baby in it.
Who's the baby? Not me.
And then we had Callan's on 120th and 3rd Avenue,
Yeah.
and they used to have, what did they call them? You had to bring your scissors with coupon sales, and you had to have your coupon. And there was an old woman used to sell lace there,
Yeah.
and we were friendly with her. And they would cut your coupon for the sale, or you wouldn't get it. And then we had Beck Hazard's shoe store. It was Beck's and Hazard's. And I used to love to say that word, Beck Hazard's. Then about 1929, there was a scare that there was going to be the end of the world. Some nut was preaching the end of the world. So the kids all said, well, let's go down on 3rd Avenue to the jewelers. And if anything happens, we can get all the jewelry. And the people were actually crying and hysterical in the street. But it didn't end. I don't know whatever happened. They took off, I guess.
Did you have electric light in your apartment?
No, when we were kids, we had mantles with the gas. And if you slam then when you slam the door, the mantle would fall down. And my mother, we wore long underwear, and my mother used to heat it in the morning so that it wouldn't be cold, because we didn't have steam heat, and you got dressed in the kitchen. And the living room was like the ice box. And one time, my mother was minding a white poodle for one of the neighbors who went away, and we had the old oil stove, and heating it up for my sister's piano lesson. We had leather furniture, and it was so cold you couldn't sit on it. It was 3 rooms away from the stove. So you put the oil stove in there, and it started smoking, and the poor dog was black when we looked at him.
What did your father do, Margie?
My father was on the ferries. He was an engineer, and he was licensed for ocean-going boats, but he never wanted to leave us that long, so he worked on the ferry.
And I used to bring his lunch.
Yeah, Aunt Helen used to bring us lunch. And my father used to write up books, questions and answers with diagrams for the fellows who were studying to advance. He'd teach them all about the engines, and he worked on the first electric ferry from
How many
Staten
days a
Island.
week did he work?
He worked around the clock. He worked 6 days a week.
How much did he get
And
paid?
I don't remember his salary, but it wasn't very much. $52 was later. But during the Depression, we never had any trouble because he always had a job. So we didn't suffer too much from the Depression.
When did you start grammar school? What year?
I was 7 years old, and I graduated in 1932.
What school did you go to?
I went to St. Paul's in 118th, between Park and Lexington, and you had to walk home for lunch. And the first week I was there, the teacher asked me how to spell. I knew my name was Margaret, but I didn't know how to spell it. So she said, how do you spell your name? She never mentioned Margaret, so all I could think of was M-A-Y-O-R. And for the first term, she called me Mayor. And then Kathy O'Halloran came in to take me home, and she asked for Mayor Langan. She said, we have nobody by that name. She asked for Margie, or Margaret Langan. She said, we only have a mayor. Is that the one? So I had to tell her that I didn't know how to spell my name. Then we had a fire drill. It must have been a regular routine. And I thought the school was on fire, so I went home, and they were all looking for me at the school. I just walked home, and my poor mother, I told her the school was on fire when I got home, and she had to bring me back.
Were they strict in school?
Very strict. You wouldn't dare turn your head. And we used to have an art teacher who came in once a week. And the regular school teacher had a red wig. And he used to sit and look in her eyes, the 2 of them on his bench. And then she'd say she had something in her eye, or I think it was a little romance. And we would always stare and tell one another, knock her wig off, so we see if it's a wig.
Why did the family move to the Bronx?
Well, Grandma died. They wanted to move, but she said steam heat was unhealthy, and she wouldn't move. So poor Grandma died in 1932, and they waited for me to graduate from St. Paul's. And Aunt Helen found our apartment in 215 East 163rd, and she got us the apartment, and we